There's this language you use every single day, but you probably don't even realize it exists. It's this hidden social language of emotion. And once you understand how it works, well, it can change how you see every single interaction you have.
I mean, have you ever noticed this? You walk into a room and someone's just beaming, and suddenly you feel a little happier too. Or maybe a leader's frustration actually motivates the team to buckle down. So why is it that the exact same emotion can cause completely opposite reactions depending on who it is and what's going on?
Well, here's the secret. The key to this whole puzzle is realizing that emotions aren't just your own private feelings. No, they're social information. Every single time you show an emotion, you're basically broadcasting a signal, a whole stream of data, to everyone around you. So, how do our brains decode all these signals flying around? There's this really cool framework called the Emotions as Social Information Theory, or EASI for short, that gives us the key. You can think of it as our Rosetta Stone for this hidden language. So, what the EASI theory basically says is that when we see someone's emotion, our brain doesn't just react randomly. It's actually a very organized process. It takes that information and sends it down one of two very distinct pathways to figure out what to do next. Let's break down how that actually works. It's actually a pretty straightforward three-step process. First, you see an emotion, a smile, a scowl, whatever. Second, your brain takes that signal and sends it down one of two paths. And third, whichever path it takes, that's what guides your reaction. So what are these two paths? Okay, so path one, this is the super fast lane. It's your gut reaction. This is our automatic emotional response system. It's all about feeling a response to what someone else is feeling, and it happens almost instantly. You're not even thinking about it. It just happens. And this gut reaction, it can go one of two ways. Sometimes it's a reciprocal reaction, meaning you literally catch their emotion. That's classic emotional contagion. You know that feeling when a friend's good mood just lifts you up? That's it. But other times it's complementary. Their distress might spark your compassion, or their anger might trigger your fear. The emotions are different, sure, but they fit together. They make sense as a response. All right, so what about the other path? This is the slow lane, the thinking path. This is where your brain puts on its little detective hat and starts deliberately analyzing the emotion to gather clues and figure out what's really going on here. So what kind of clues is our inner detective looking for? Well, we start making inferences about the person, about the situation, and even about ourselves. So, for instance, in a negotiation, if your counterpart gets angry, your brain might infer, okay, this person is a tough bargainer. Or a look of fear from someone is a universal signal that, hey, this situation might be dangerous. And if your boss looks disappointed, you're probably going to infer, my performance wasn't up to snuff. So let's just put it all side by side for a second. You've got two totally distinct ways of processing the exact same emotional signal. Path one, the gut reaction, is fast and it's all about feeling. Path two, the detective, is slow, deliberate, and it's all about thinking and analyzing. One is contagion, the other is decoding. Okay, so this brings us to the really interesting part. If we have these two different paths, what directs the traffic? How does our brain choose whether to have a gut reaction or to do some detective work? Well, this is where the brain's control panel comes in. So yeah, what does flip that switch? Why do we sometimes just catch an emotion like the flu, and other times we step back and analyze it? Turns out the answer comes down to two critical factors that act like switches on that mental control panel. All right, so the first big switch is just how much brain power you have at the moment. If you've got the energy and motivation to think deeply, you're much more likely to use that detective path. But if you're tired or distracted, you're probably going to fall back on your gut. The second switch, though, and this one is arguably way more powerful, is all about social rules. Is this emotion actually appropriate for this situation? And let's really zoom in on that idea of appropriateness, because this one is a total game changer. When an emotion feels out of place or inappropriate, it completely changes how we react. It can actually short-circuit our detective work altogether, leaving us with just a raw gut feeling about the person. Just look at how dramatically context can flip the script. Take anger. In a tough negotiation, anger can be seen as an appropriate signal of toughness, and it might actually make you concede more. But that same anger in a friendly chat, that's just an inappropriate outburst, and it'll probably just make you dislike the person. And get this, even culture plays a huge role. Studies have shown that since European Americans tend to see anger as more appropriate in business, they concede more to it. But Asian Americans who might see it as less appropriate actually concede less. Same emotion, opposite result.
And this all points to something really profound that the researchers found. Basically, there are no inherently good or bad social emotions. Anger isn't always a negative, and happiness isn't always a positive. What really truly matters is the signal it sends and how that signal gets interpreted in that specific context.
So after all this, what's the big takeaway for you? How can we actually use this new understanding of this hidden language of emotions in our own lives? Well, it really boils down to three simple things. First, remember your emotions are constantly broadcasting information. Second, the people around you are decoding that info through either that fast gut reaction or that slow detective analysis. And third, and this is the big one, context is everything. Whether your emotional signal helps you or hurts you depends entirely on whether it's seen as appropriate. So now that you know this, you're not just reacting anymore. You're aware of the signals you're sending and the ones you're receiving. You understand the hidden rules of the game. So the next time you feel an emotion coming on, just pause and ask yourself, what message do I really want to send right now?